Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
It is time to get out of pocket. I am your host, Michael Davis, joined by the one and only Austin Summers. Austin's joined us from Sniz Fantasy Football, and we had a good show in store for you, and we have an even better show now because news broke this morning, and you guys can interact with us on our YouTube channel, Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Your comments pop up here on the screen so you guys can steer the conversation. But we got to talk about this breaking news, Austin. One of the biggest fantasy football contributors that we know just got paid. We had breaking news, big bag. Justin Jefferson becomes the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. That's a mouthful. 4 years, $140 million. Austin, what was your reaction to this big contract, and do you think he's worth that money?
So, very big contract. First, thanks for having me on, Michael. Look, Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver there is in football right now. He's the number one pick in fantasy football. He is that guy. But to that point, I don't think paying that kind of money in the long run is going to work out for your team. I don't think this is going to, I don't think he's going to help the Vikings go to the Super Bowl because they have other issues. And while, yes, paying him is needed, you need to lock him down. He is that guy. He, like I said, best wide receiver there is. I think that there's other issues the Vikings needed to address other than just giving him the bag. Obviously, it's hard to keep people in Minnesota. It's not a great place to be. So I get paying him, make sure he's happy, make sure he's locked down. But I definitely think that there are other issues that the Vikings need to work on.
Well, they're replacing Kirk Cousins with a rookie, J.J. McCarthy. As I mentioned, you can be a part of the show. Carson Williams, very frequent guest on Out of Pocket, says completely deserved. Best of the new generation. Max saying CD is smiling. I feel like this.
Yes.
I do want to circle back to this, but we're also welcoming in an Out of Pocket original to the show. He came back I think a couple weeks ago and did a great job. We're welcoming in John Cox as well. John, we're talking about this breaking news. Justin Jefferson getting the bag, 4 years, $140 million. I posed the question to Austin. Now I pose it to you. Is Jefferson worth this amount of money?
I think he is. Immediately what I thought about was kind of the crossover between the NBA and the NFL. Like Jaylen Brown's making $60 million and Justin Jefferson's not making that, which is hilarious. But I don't know. It's interesting to see. I think there's two camps right now in the NFL when it comes to team building. You see a lot of teams like the Chiefs, 49ers, Ravens, Buffalo Bills. They're kind of avoiding overpaying for a specific receiver. And then you have the other camp. You have the Dolphins. You have the Eagles, of course. You have the Bengals. And they're kind of, we're going to pay as much as we can for elite talent on the outside. And it's interesting because obviously the Super Bowl last year was between two teams where they were built much differently offensively. They had an elite running back, and then they had debatably one elite wide receiver and then a very good wide receiver in Ayuk. And then the Chiefs, their receiving core was it was mediocre, like at best. So it's really interesting to see. I think the NFL wants speed on the outside. They want talent. They want receivers to be their stars. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. If I were the Vikings, I would pay it. You got to do what you got to do to keep elite talent in the building. And they've also got a rookie quarterback right now. So I think it just helps them out in keeping the team where it is.
And I agree with John's point there. There are two frameworks of it. But if you look at who's been consistent Super Bowl winners and in the Super Bowl the past couple of years, it's been those that try not to overpay for a position. But I do agree in Minnesota, rookie quarterback, you need something there. And so I get locking him down. I get that's your future, but I don't think that's going to result in much past that.
Yeah, and especially with that division, Chicago just getting Caleb Williams, Detroit win the division last year and what they've built with Dan Campbell, the Green Bay Packers making the playoffs last year and unfortunately beating the Dallas Cowboys in that mauling of just destroying that defense. I did want to bring up, because our comment section is flooding right now with comments about CD. Max saying CD is smiling and that CD is better. Carson saying Jettis is worth more than CD. Now, here's the point, like some people are missing, right? Justin Jefferson and CD Lamb share the same agent. So here's what I was thinking all along, that whoever got their money first, whoever ended up getting paid second will get paid more, because whoever was the first would reset that market. This is crazy thinking about what Dallas needs to resign with Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott, and now CD Lamb will probably look to be the highest paid wide receiver in the game, which would result in being the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. It's interesting. I'm a Cowboys guy. Austin's a Giants guy. John's a Philadelphia guy. So, John, when you look at this, how much do you think CD Lamb gets paid, and how does that contract situation work there?
It's tough. If I had to guess, it's not as much, just because Dallas has more people to pay. Who else does Minnesota have to pay? The Cowboys, obviously, they have Michael Parsons left to pay. Dak Prescott could be shaky. So I don't think it's as much yearly. It could be longer. I wouldn't be surprised if it's longer. I was a little surprised that Justin Jefferson was only 3 years. So maybe it's more overall over a period of time, but I don't think that Jerry Jones would commit more money to CeeDee Lamb than what Justin Jefferson just commanded.
Yeah, Austin, especially thinking about like what the Miami Dolphins are about to face too. Like they just paid Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill's getting a lot of money. Tua is not under contract for next year. Like the Miami Dolphins are in a similar situation of the Cowboys. Like, how do you think the Cowboys pay everybody?
I think if I was the Cowboys, they need to focus in first on Micah Parsons. That is their guy on defense. That's their lockdown position. They need to pay him, make sure he gets his bag. When it comes to CeeDee Lamb, I'm not of the camp of overpaying for position. Yes, CeeDee's been phenomenal, but I mean, you can replace a receiver much easier than you can a guy on defense that has the capability that Micah Parsons has. And to John's point, talking about Dak being shady, totally agree. I've always been of the camp that I don't think Dak Prescott is going to be a winning guy for that organization or take them to the next step. So, I think you got to spread the money around, but I think your first priority, if you're the Cowboys, is to get Micah Parsons paid and make sure he's happy and wants to be there in the long haul, because it's a fact. Defense wins championships, and it's been shown over and over, just like against the Green Bay Packers, the defense didn't hold out, and that's what y'all needed. And so you need to improve it, pay him, surround him, and worry about your offense second.
Carson mentioned Jess outproduces CD Lamb with a worse quarterback. And I did want to say, Austin and I got into a little spat yesterday on our Twitter accounts about not making a difference. I'm like, dude, a team wins a game, not one player. Like that can't do it all on his own. And he finished second in MVP voting. Just saying. Yeah,
he did. But he's still – he can finish second as long as he wants until he's first, until he wins in January. I don't want to hear nothing about him. I'm going to be honest.
I'll be back to talk, a little bit about John's favorite team and some of the rumors surrounding Jimmy Butler, but we'll see what happens with the contract situations. And Dallas does need to start making some moves to lock down Dak Prescott, lock down Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, see if they can afford everybody. But we're also in the NBA Finals, and that's what we want to open the show up with today, because we'll have our finals matchup starting on Thursday night, and we'll be previewing the finals up until then. But looking at the Boston Celtics, they've been here before and they fell short. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown wanting their first ring. Drew Holiday, I believe, has one through Milwaukee, but not in Boston. Derek White. Kristaps Porzingis. And then you look at Dallas and all the criticism towards Luka of like being a fifth seed and not being an MVP candidate, like which he should have been the MVP for this year. I'm sticking to my guns on that one. Sorry, Jokic. But Luka deserved the MVP more than Embiid did last year. Just saying. It's true. It's true. It's not out of pocket at all. But, looking at, also Kyrie rebuilding his reputation, there's a lot of storylines with these NBA finals. Austin, I'll begin with you. Who do you think needs to win a ring more this season?
As to who needs to win one more, it's obviously the Celtics camp. I mean, this Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown duo have been together for, 7 years now? Maybe 8? I mean, they've been together a long time. 6, 7, 8 years. I can't even remember. And they went there before, got smacked around. They year after year, they've paid these guys. They've kept them together. They've put so much talent around them year after year to try to get these guys over the hump to win the finals, and yet they have not delivered. And I personally am of the camp that I don't think these two guys work together. I like Jaylen Brown. He can't play left. Jason Tatum is a shot chucker. He throws the ball up. He doesn't have the best decision making. That's the issue with him. He can hoop, but he does not make the right decisions when he needs to at certain times. And so I think all the pressure's on the Celtics. I mean, Luka's still young. He's been expected to perform, but getting to the finals is the step for him. That's what they've been trying to do. Winning it is just going above and beyond. And obviously you got Kyrie there. This is a legacy series for him against the Celtics. He has that hatred for them. So I think it's going to be a phenomenal matchup. And I think all the pressure is on the Celtics to show the fruits of their labor, which they haven't done yet.
Austin, that was a really great point. Everybody's talking about Kyrie playing his former team, the Boston Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis is playing his former team in Dallas. They thought that the Luka-Kristaps combination would work, and it didn't. But in hindsight, I thought the Luka and Kyrie pairing wouldn't work, and it apparently has. It's gotten them to the NBA Finals. John, who do you think needs to win a ring more?
I'll go the other side. I'll say the Mavs, just because I think the Celtics are set up. I don't think they're going to blow it up if it doesn't work out this year. I mean, they made it to another finals. They have a chance. I think the most they do is probably find another head coach to replace Mazzulla, but I don't think that they would blow it up. They just gave Drew Holiday big money. Tatum and Jaylen Brown are obviously locked up. I think that core is kind of there to stay. I don't know if the Mavs are set up for long-term success the way the Celtics are. And so I would say there's a little more pressure for the Mavs to win the ring this year, especially when you have OKC, who is very young. Obviously, they beat them, but they'll be better next year. They'll add pieces. All their players are incredibly young. They're only going to get better. Jamal Murray is going to come back, and he is going to be healthy. So Denver is always going to be hard to get through. And then you never know. Teams in the West are really willing to make moves. We saw that with the Suns this year. They're willing to trade. They're willing to do things to add stars to their rosters. And it's just a tougher conference. Who knows? Maybe the Clippers next year find a way to stay healthy through the playoffs. You never know. So I think the Mavs just need to win it this year, because I don't think they'll have as good of an opportunity in the future as they do right now.
John making a dig at Austin's Clippers. Also wanted to mention Carson saying the Celtics have all the pressure. They're an overwhelmingly talented team. Also, the It Doesn't Matter podcast. I've connected with Dom recently. He does a wrestling podcast, kind of like going on the line of The Rock. Pretty solid one. I've listened to a couple episodes so far. We just super recently connected as of this weekend. He thinks Dallas is taking it all. Mac going at it with Carson here in the comments. Return on investment, Dak to CD or JJ McCarthy to Justin Jefferson. It's like JJ squared over in Minnesota. But Mac saying the Mavs need to win as well. Appreciate you as well, Dom, over at the It Doesn't Matter podcast. John, did I hear you correctly, though? I don't want to leave this right here. Did you say Joe Mazzulla could get pushed out if they don't win the finals? Did I hear that right?
I mean, I just don't think that you would trade any other pieces
who do you blame? You know, who somebody has to take the blame if they don't win,
Right.
and so it's going to get thrown on Joe Mazzulla, and I agree with John on that. But I also think that, I mean, at some point you're going to have to realize that if they don't win this ring that they've been after with this core, the core just doesn't work, and they've got to blow it up. I mean, these pieces are very valuable in trade, and you've just got to put the right pieces. I think you get rid of Jaylen Brown because Tatum's their guy. I don't know who you get. I'm not even going to sit here and try to formulate a trade out of my pocket, but you know,
I don't know. I mean, like psychologically, they got punked last year by the Heat. The Heat came in and they beat them in Boston. That was embarrassing. And you know, they made it to the finals with a different head coach. Whatever happens there happens, and they just haven't been as successful since. I just think, you know, he's a young head coach. This is his first time head coaching. I think they would try and go out and find another kind of more serious head coach that's going to command a room and get them to play at their best and not let them be beaten mentally before they even step on the court the way they were last year by the Miami Heat.
But here's what I hate, and I've mentioned this several weeks on the show, is like watching these head coaches become scapegoats. Like Jaylen Brown just got his big contract. He's not leaving. Jason Tatum is Boston's best player. He's not leaving. Like, what is so wrong about teams just being like, you know what? We made it to the conference finals one year. We made it to the NBA finals next year. If they don't beat the Dallas Mavs, like they have the team to go the distance. It's just getting that actual championship and win the best of 7 series in the finals. Like Joe Mazzulla, he has a 73.8% winning percentage. Like he's already won 23 games in his 2-year playoff career. Like getting rid of him would be such a travesty. Like, Austin, I don't think you can like build stability through that.
And I agree. I mean, but the thing is this, a team with such high prestige as the Celtics, when they don't win, somebody's got to have the finger pointed at them. Same thing with the Lakers every year. Somebody's got to take the blame. And how many times do you keep just running it back and hoping for a different result? You know, yeah, they went out, they got Drew Holiday, they've made trades, they've tried to better it. But I mean, what else can you do? How many more steps can you make with the same formula and get the same result without changing something? And so, you know, it's the definition of insanity, you know, which I think any Celtics fan is insane. But that's my opinion.
Yeah. Max saying Mavs win. Michael buys a championship shirt or hat. I don't agree to that at all, but I appreciate you watching on your lunch break. Just like everybody else is, the comment section is blowing up. If you comment on our YouTube channel, you get to be a part of the show. And Mac and Carson also arguing over in the comments about the return on investment on Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. Now, I mentioned we would go back to John's team of the Philadelphia 76ers because there's some rumors. And I had to put out an article on Fans First Sports Network that you guys can go read, fansfirstsports.com, about the potential and the possibility of Jimmy Butler leaving the Miami Heat and talking about Boston potentially blowing up, or, you know, what do they do if they don't make the NBA Finals? Well, the Miami Heat were in the NBA Finals last year as a play-in 8th seed, beat Boston in 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals to just lose to the Nuggets in the NBA Finals. Miraculous run. The Miami Heat didn't get that far because Jimmy Butler got injured in a play-in game, and the first round matchup against Boston was just too much without Jimmy Buckets, playoff Jimmy, on the floor. And now there's rumors that the East could be shaken up and Jimmy Butler, the heart and soul of the Miami Heat, could be leaving. And there was a rumor that Jimmy Butler would leave Miami for Philadelphia. Can I just go ahead and you guys can read the article? I'm not going to spoil it, but here's the scoop. Jimmy Butler is not leaving Miami. And if he leaves Miami, it's definitely not going to go to the team that chose Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. Jimmy is petty, and Jimmy does not forget. John, you're a 76ers fan. There's no shot Jimmy Butler leaves the Heat for the 76ers.
Okay, the Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler is just rewriting history. That is not what happened. If you go back and look, what happened was Jimmy said, I don't want to play for Brett Brown. And Ben Simmons said, I don't want someone who has the ball so much. And so management said, okay, we're sticking with Brett Brown and we're sticking with Ben Simmons, which at the time was an unpopular decision, but it was semi-understandable. We didn't know what Ben Simmons, we didn't know what the fall-off would look like. We didn't know, we went from Brett Brown to Doc Rivers. So, it could get worse, and it did get worse. And then they went out and they said, okay, we'll pay Tobias Harris a max because we've lost Jimmy. We'll trade for Al Horford, who will do nothing. He'll shoot 4 threes over 130 games and give us nothing in the playoffs and not be able to play next to Joel Embiid. That is what happened when Jimmy Butler left that summer. It was not, management did not say we like Tobias Harris more than Jimmy Butler. That's not what happened. Jimmy Butler wanted it his way, and that's understandable. And management saw it a different way, which was also understandable. We were a very young team at the time. I think Joel Embiid was like 25 or 23 at that point. Ben Simmons was blossoming into a player that we thought would be an all defensive caliber. And he really was. He was an all defense. We thought he would be a perennial all-star. And then I'm just going to blame Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers ruined what we had. Of course, it was more than Doc Rivers, but I will say Doc Rivers definitely had a hand in destroying what we had. And so, now that we look at it, Ben Simmons is not there. Brett Brown is not there. We have a real head coach. Jimmy Butler has that relationship with Joel Embiid. He loves Joel Embiid. He loves playing with Joel Embiid. And if anyone can get the most out of Joel, it's going to be Jimmy. It's going to be playoff Jimmy. And so, I don't know. The only thing is the numbers on the contracts. They're scary. Jimmy Butler's old. Joel Embiid is a center. You don't know how long they last. So, it's basically pushing all of your chips in for the next 5 years, trying to win a championship this year, which is scary. But as a fan, I think that's what I would do.
Especially with Joel Embiid's injury history, particularly earlier on in his career, but he was limping through the last half of the season. Max saying he doesn't allow him to leave, and that's a very good point because Pat Riley allowed Dwayne Wade to leave at the later stages of his career, go to Cleveland, join LeBron, go to Chicago, and Pat Riley's been on record as saying that he regrets ever letting Dwayne Wade leave because there's a certain aspect when you're the heart and soul of a team, Austin, like you just can't give that up. Like Jimmy Butler's not leaving Miami. He's definitely not going to Philadelphia or any other team.
So definitely not going to Philadelphia. He will put up, he might retire before he goes to Philadelphia and plays up there again. Like John or you, Michael said, he's very petty. He will not put up with that. But, I think the Heat aren't scared to rebuild. They're the best team at drafting and building talent. And so I wouldn't say it's off the cards for Jimmy Butler to leave. I think it's, definitely possible. I saw a Bleacher Report article actually of a trade between the Warriors and the Heat for the Warriors to get, I think it was Cole Anthony, Jimmy Butler, and somebody else. And they sent Chris Paul, Moses Moody, a couple other people. The Magic are involved. I love that trade, especially for the Warriors. They're all in with Steph. And I don't think the Heat are scared to rebuild. And I think, the time's come. Jimmy Butler's getting old. He's on that max contract. The pieces around him, they've really built up a good team around him, as the Heat can do almost every year. But I don't think that they're going to be able to continuously keep up that output of talent around him while keeping Jimmy happy, in my opinion. So I think that some decisions got to be made down there in that, Pat Riley camp down there with the Heat, and we'll see what happens. But, I don't think it's out of the question for Jimmy Butler to go somewhere else because he wants to win. And I think he knows that the window's closing in Miami.
But there's a winning culture in Miami. And Austin, what would entice a Heat fan or just Pat Riley in general to give up Jimmy Butler for Chris Paul?
Let's see here. You know what? Y'all keep talking. I'm gonna pull up the article so I can. I'll get the info on it because it was a Bleacher Report article.
That's interesting because I didn't even see this article, and that was my dream scenario. Was
what?
Jimmy Butler to Golden State. I just think it would be so fun. We get to see Curry and Clay maybe give it one more run.
I've got it right here.
Maybe Draymond is saying this year, but I think that would be so fun to see Jimmy Butler on the Golden State Warriors.
Y'all are out of pocket on this one. Austin, what was the deal?
So the Warriors received Jimmy Butler, Cole Anthony, and Caleb Houston. And the Warriors lose Chris Paul, Andrew Wiggins, Moses Moody, Brandon Podensmeiski, a 2025 first round, a 27 first round, a 29 first round. The Heat get Andrew Wiggins. They get Moses Moody. They get Brandon. They get 4 first-round picks, 1 from Orlando. And then the Magic receive Chris Paul and Orlando Robinson. So I think it makes sense for the Magic. Cole Anthony hasn't been that valuable. Honestly, I'm surprised I'm not shipping off Anthony Black. He's not really contributed to that team either this past year. So I think the trade makes sense, honestly. To be a Bleacher Report trade, typically they're not very good. But I think this one makes a lot of sense and would make sense for the Warriors going all in. It makes sense for the Heat to get Andrew Wiggins, to have a piece to build around with Bam, a younger guy, and move forward with 4 first-round picks. I mean, you can't complain for that. 4 in the next 3 years.
I do like first-round picks, especially with Miami using them to their full potential. You had Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jaime Jaquez, like all first-round guys picked in the Pat Riley era since LeBron left. Carson saying Miami's in limbo. Too good to lose, but too good to win. Can't win a ring, but can't get a high draft pick. It will be interesting to note what the Miami Heat do with their first-round pick this year, right outside the NBA draft lottery. I've seen anywhere from Jared McCain, the former Duke player. That would just entice me personally, seeing it. But man, this class isn't that strong, especially when you look at comparing it to last year's class that had Wembanyama and Jaquez and Chet. Well, Chet was a couple years ago, but you had the Thompson twins. Austin wouldn't trade me one of the Thompson twins at the beginning of the year. We might want to revisit it. We might want to revisit that, right?
I think if anybody can make use of that draft pick in such a bad draft, it is the Miami Heat, though.
Yeah, that is so true. We are closing in here on our last couple minutes. We want to get you guys back to work. If you're joining us on your lunch break, follow us on Instagram at outpocket_TRSR. Keep commenting on the YouTube channel. We display all those comments on our stream. But before I let you guys go, I don't want you guys to go without letting me know your NBA Finals prediction as the series starts this Thursday. Quickly tell us who you have and how many games and what you see happening in the finals. Austin?
I've got 2 different answers, and I'm going to be quick about them. I think realistically, I see the Celtics in 6. I want to see the Mavs in 7, though. I just think the Celtics out-talent the Mavs. It's simple as that. But I like to hope that Luka puts on an absolute magical performance and Kyrie keeps the ball on a yo-yo and PJ Washington and Derek Jones Jr. and everybody shows up and contributes and they win the game. So that's what I hope.
All right, John, what's your NBA Finals prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to say Mavs. I'll say Mavs in 6. Luka Finals MVP. And I think – going back to the other point, I think Jason Kidd outcoaches Missoula, just runs circles around him, puts him in a bind. And especially if Kristaps doesn't come back, I just don't think they have the rim protection. So those lobs are going to be crazy. But, yeah, I got Mavs in 6.
I don't know if I'd ever hear those words come out of anybody's mouth that Jason Kidd would outcoach anybody. Guys, the disrespect Joe Mazzulla almost makes me want to see if the Celtics don't win the NBA Finals, what would happen. Hopefully he's not the scapegoat. Carson saying it's the Celtics. That's his pick. Mac was going for the Mavs. But that has been Out of Pocket with Michael Davis today. Subscribe to Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, by the way. We did a segment earlier in the show, Who Needs a Ring More? Tomorrow, we're going to drop a list on Out of Pocket of the 10 most valuable players in this NBA Finals series. You're not going to want to miss it tomorrow on our social at outpocket_TRSR. But for Michael Davis, Austin Summers from Sniz Fantasy Football, and John Cox, it's been Out of Pocket with Michael Davis. We will see you guys next time. And thank you for the continued comments on our YouTube channel. We're getting all the. Oh, whoa, hold up. Is this true? No,
Yeah, I
is
saw
this
that
true?
right before I joined. He passed away while on vacation.
No way.
Wow, I'm just now seeing that.
Um,
It's probably a heart attack if it was suddenly on vacation.
so I just looked this up. Hall of Fame guard, really big for the Cowboys. Second round pick in the 94 NFL draft. Cowboys Hall of Famer Larry Allen passing suddenly. Family on vacation in Mexico. 52 years old. That is terrible.
It's awful.
Wow.
R.I.P.
Yeah, so he was a Dallas Cowboy from 94 to 05 and then had a couple years in the 49ers. He won a Super Bowl in Dallas in that 95 season, a 6-time first team All-Pro, second team All-Pro, 11-time Pro Bowl. Pro Bowls don't matter so much nowadays, but I mean, back then, if you're hitting 11 Pro Bowls as an offensive lineman, he was on the 90s All-Decade team. He was on 2000s All-Decade team, and he only played half in both of those decades. Wow.
This article says he once bench pressed 700 pounds. That is.
That's more than Jalen Hurts, right?
That's more than probably all three of us weigh combined.
We'll do the numbers off air, please. Yeah, so that's I hate to end the show on that, but Larry Allen passing away. Thanks, Mac, for that breaking news update. It's horrible news. Just thinking of his family right now and Cowboys Nation, but NFL Nation is with you guys during this time. But for Michael Davis, it's been Austin Summers from Sniz Fantasy Football, John Cox, as well, an OP original. We'll be back this week, so subscribe to the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, and we will see you guys next time for Out of Pocket.